Ismail al-Wazir, 1948. Long before Mossad had a name, Israel had a policy. Ismail al-Wazir was eliminated in 1948 during the bloody chaos of the Arab-Israeli War, at a moment when the new state was simultaneously fighting for survival and deciding what kind of state it would become. The operation was crude but by later standards, carried out not by a polished intelligence agency, but by paramilitary units operating in the fog of a war that had no clean lines. What makes it significant isn't the method, but the mindset it revealed. That targeted political killing would be a tool of Israeli statecraft from the very beginning, even before the ink on the Declaration of Independence was dry. Mossad itself wouldn't be formally established until 1949, meaning this killing predates the institution that would eventually become synonymous with the practice. The template was set before the machinery even existed. Rudolf Kastner, 1957. Most controversial assassinations are controversial because of who ordered them. This one is controversial because of who the victim was. Rudolf Kastner was a Hungarian Jewish lawyer who, during the Holocaust, negotiated directly with Adolf Eichmann to secure the release of around 1,700 Jews on a train to safety, while hundreds of thousands of others were sent to Auschwitz. After the war, an Israeli court called him a man who had sold his soul to the devil, a verdict that effectively marked him for death. On March 3, 1957, outside his Tel Aviv home, he was shot 3 times. He died 12 days later. His shooter, Ziv Epstein, had links to a far-right ultranationalist network, and questions about how much the state knew and how much it looked the other way have never been fully resolved. A later court partially rehabilitated Kastner's reputation. It came too late. Adolf Eichmann, the one they didn't kill, 1960. In 1960, Mossad tracked down the man most directly responsible for the logistics of the Holocaust, living quietly in a suburb of Buenos Aires under the name Ricardo Clement. They had the manpower. They had the location. They could have shot him on the street and been back in Tel Aviv by morning. Instead, Prime Minister David Ben-Gurion made a deliberate decision. Eichmann would be taken alive, brought to Jerusalem, and put on trial for the world to watch. On May 11, 1960, a Mossad team bundled him into a car, sedated him, dressed him in an El Al uniform, and flew him out of Argentina. He was convicted and hanged on May 31, 1962. The operation is famous partly for what it was and partly for what it wasn't. A rare moment when Israel chose the courtroom over the bullet, and in doing so created one of the most documented records of Nazi atrocity ever put before a court. Mehdi Ben Barka, 1965. On October 29, 1965, Moroccan opposition leader Mehdi Ben Barka walked toward a Paris brasserie and was never seen again. Moroccan and French intelligence were the confirmed primary actors in his disappearance, but allegations of Mossad involvement have circulated for decades and have never been fully dismissed or confirmed. Ben Barka was a socialist dissident, a thorn in the side of King Hassan II, and a figure with enough international connections to make multiple governments nervous. His body was never found. The case caused a severe diplomatic rupture between France and Morocco and remains officially unsolved 60 years later. Whether Israel had a direct operational role or merely provided intelligence support is still disputed, which is precisely why it belongs here. Some of the most controversial assassinations aren't the ones with clean answers, but the ones where the fog never fully lifts. Operation Wrath of God, PLO targets, 1972 to 1988. On September 5, 1972, 11 Israeli athletes were taken hostage and murdered at the Munich Olympics by the Palestinian group Black September. Within weeks, Israel had authorized one of the most sustained targeted killing campaigns in modern intelligence history. Over the following years, Mossad operatives hunted the planners and facilitators of the Munich attack across Rome, Paris, Nicosia, and Beirut. Wales Whiter was the first to go, shot 12 times in his Rome apartment building on October 16, 1972. But the campaign's most infamous moment came not from a successful kill, but a catastrophic mistake. On July 21, 1973, in Lillehammer, Norway, a Mossad team shot and killed Ahmed Bouchiki, a Moroccan waiter with no connection to Munich, after misidentifying him as a target. Norwegian police arrested several operatives who were subsequently tried and convicted. The blunder forced Israel to confront the reality that a machine built to deliver precision could also deliver an innocent man's death. Gerald Bull, 1990, Gerald de Bull was a Canadian engineer who had spent his career doing one thing better than almost anyone alive: designing artillery. By the late 1980s, he was doing it for Saddam Hussein. Project Babylon, as it was called, was a supergun capable of launching projectiles with enough range to reach Israel from Iraqi soil, or theoretically, to put a satellite into orbit. On March 22, 1990, Bull was shot 5 times outside his Brussels apartment. There was no forced entry, no robbery, no witnesses. No group ever claimed responsibility. Mossad is the near-universal attribution among intelligence analysts, though some have pointed fingers at Iraqi intelligence itself or Western services who wanted the project dead for their own reasons. Whichever agency pulled the trigger, the effect was the same. Project Babylon was dismantled by Western authorities shortly after Bull's death, and the supergun was never completed. Yahya Ayyash, the engineer, 1996. Yahya Ayyash earned his nickname the hard way. As Hamas's chief bomb maker through the mid-1990s, he designed the devices used in a series of suicide bus bombings that killed dozens of Israeli civilians. Israeli security services hunted him for years while he moved through Gaza, constantly relocating, never using the same phone twice, until someone gave him one they could trust. On January 5, 1996, Ayyash answered a mobile phone call from his father. The phone had been fitted with approximately 50 grams of RDX explosive by Israeli intelligence. The detonation killed him instantly. The operation was considered a tactical success by Israel. The strategic outcome was more complicated. Within weeks, Hamas launched a wave of retaliatory bombings across Israel that killed more than 60 people in a single month, making the death of one bomb maker one of the bloodiest months in the entire conflict. Ahmad Mughnieh, 2008. For more than 2 decades, Ahmad Mughnieh was one of the most wanted men on earth. As Hezbollah's top military commander, he was held responsible for the 1983 Beirut barracks bombing that killed 241 American servicemen, multiple airline hijackings, and numerous other attacks across 3 continents. The CIA and Mossad both wanted him dead. On February 12, 2008, a bomb hidden inside the spare tire of a parked car detonated as Mughnieh walked through the quiet Kafr Sousa district of Damascus, Syria. The operation was later reported by the Washington Post and others as a joint CIA-Mossad effort, though both governments officially denied involvement for years. He had evaded capture long enough that some analysts had begun to wonder if he was still alive at all. He was, until he wasn't. Mahmoud al-Mabhouh, 2010. If the Mughnieh operation was a ghost story, the killing of Mahmoud al-Mabhouh was the opposite. One of the most thoroughly documented assassinations ever captured on camera. Al-Mabhouh, a senior Hamas military commander responsible for weapons procurement from Iran, checked into the Al Bustan Rotana Hotel in Dubai on January 19, 2010. A team of approximately 27 operatives had been tracking him and were already in position. He was found dead in his room that evening, initially appearing to have died of natural causes. Dubai police then released hours of CCTV footage tracking every move of the hit team through the airport, the hotel lobby, and the corridors. Operatives in tennis gear, wigs, and baseball caps moving with unsettling calmness through a crowded hotel. The passports they used were forged copies of real British, Australian, and Irish documents, triggering formal diplomatic protests from all 3 governments. Israel never confirmed the operation. Nobody believed the denial. Iranian nuclear scientists, 2010 to 2012. Between January 2010 and January 2012, at least 4 Iranian nuclear scientists were killed in Tehran in near-identical fashion. A motorcyclist would pull alongside the target's car during the morning commute, attach a magnetic bomb to the door, and accelerate away before the detonation. Masoud Ali Mohammadi was the first, killed in January 2010. Majid Shahriari and Dariush Reza-Nejad followed in 2010 and 2011 respectively. Mostafa Ahmadi Roshan was killed on January 11, 2012. A 5th scientist, Fareydun Abbasi Davani, survived a simultaneous attack. Iran blamed Israel and the United States for each killing. Both denied involvement publicly, though multiple intelligence sources and reporting by the New York Times attributed the operations to Mossad, with some suggesting U.S. logistical support. The campaign was designed to slow Iran's nuclear program by eliminating the human expertise behind it, killing the scientists rather than bombing the facilities. Mohammed Deif assassination attempt 2014 and 2024. Mohammed Deif has been the target of Israeli assassination attempts for so long that his survival became its own kind of legend. Over the years, Israeli strikes killed members of his family and left him with severe injuries, reportedly costing him an eye and the use of several limbs. He kept commanding Hamas's military wing anyway. On July 13, 2024, Israel struck a building in Khan Yunis, Gaza, targeting Deif directly. The strike killed more than 90 people in the surrounding area, one of the single deadliest moments of the 2024 Gaza conflict. Whether Deif himself died in the strike was disputed for weeks, with Hamas denying his death and Israel stopping short of full confirmation before eventually claiming he had been killed. The operation illustrated one of the central tensions in targeted killing doctrine. The harder the target is to reach, the larger the collateral damage required to reach him. Ismail Haniyeh, 2024. Ismail Haniyeh was the most politically prominent figure Hamas had, the head of its political bureau, the man who sat across the table in ceasefire negotiations, the face of the organization to the outside world. On July 31, 2024, he was killed in Tehran while staying at a guest house following the inauguration of Iran's new president. The method remains disputed. Some intelligence reports pointed to a bomb pre-planted inside the room weeks in advance. Others described a short-range projectile. Either way, the operation was conducted on Iranian soil inside a facility that should have been one of the most secure locations in the country, which made it as much an intelligence humiliation for Iran as it was an assassination. Israel said nothing officially. Hamas and Iran confirmed his death within hours. The killing came at a moment when ceasefire talks were already fragile, and his absence removed one of the few figures with the authority to make a deal. If you want to see more, click the video on screen now.